Hi, y'all. Since my makeup's done, I thought I'd come to you and talk about Soul. Is it? Oh my gosh. I thought I'd have the name. Hold on. Soul Power, y'all. Okay, so sometimes I teach English 101. I think maybe I teach it once a semester and or English C 1000, whichever. Or sometimes I teach like the critical thinking class. And usually for the critical thinking class, I do Black film and how like Black film has evolved and all of that. And then, um, oh my gosh, we just had an earthquake. Wait, hold on. Mhm. In 5 minutes. Okay. We just had an earthquake. Oh my gosh. Okay. So anyway, hmm, okay. So then okay, so in my English C 1000 English 101 class, I do sports, liberation, Black liberation in sports. And so every year, well, it's usually in the fall semester. So like every fall semester, I think about like when I get to the basketball section, because I am more of a basketball person than I am anything else. I don't really have as much to talk about for basketball. And it really kind of anchors me because there's a lot out there about the Negro Leagues for baseball. There's a lot out there that deals with how football integrated, etc. But there's not a lot out there about basketball. There is, of course, this newer film that deals with how the first NBA player that was drafted to the first black NBA player that was drafted to the New York Knickerbockers. And then there is a film about the Globetrotters, Harlem Globetrotters, and there's a documentary. I think that's on Stars that deals with the Harlem Globetrotters, which is kind of an interesting thing. And really, that's not Black owned. So it's kind of looking at how that non-Black owned entity became Black centered, and it's actually a Jewish guy, if I'm not mistaken. And Jews and Blacks had been shut out of the NBA. So, I mean, they were really in this struggle together to get into the NBA space. And then, of course, the Celtics came out last year with a TV series. I'm not a Celtics person, but it was really good and it was on Showtime. And it dealt with the Celtics franchise, how it created, how it came. And then, of course, you had to deal with the Bill Russell of it all. An amazing, amazing show for sure. I even kept trying to get people to be interested in watching it. But we have not gotten a good ABA documentary or even book chapter, even book Mhm. until now. And this documentary, it's 4 parts, Soul Power, and it does a phenomenal job that of looking at how the ABA was created. And again, it wasn't Black owned. It was but it had more Black people than any other in the league than any other league. And it was like in like 56% Black versus and then this is really something that started in the 70s and it just continued to grow um until continued to grow until the NBA just kind of was trying, from the beginning was really trying to, make it minimize it. And I was really, um, and then eventually bought it out. And I was really, really intrigued by how this all kind of developed and and how it really focused on some of these larger name players that we don't get to see here as much of the larger names because they didn't make it to the NBA. They stayed in the ABA. And so good, it was a really good, highly recommend documentary. I really hope that you go and look at it. I hope that you spend some time. I'm trying to see if I can get it's on Amazon Prime and it's called Soul Power, The Legend of, let's see, I'm trying to see if I can, The Legend of the American Basketball Association. And a lot of the things that people aren't aware is okay, of course, Julius Irving is the more popular person with it for sure. But he's the most popular player associated with the show. I'm going to do it like this, so that you can kind of see it. So you can see what it looks like. And, I think, but it also has given us the flair of what our regular basketball is at the moment. It is the one that created the three-point shot. It is the slam dunk contest. I love the fact that they show you the slam dunk contest in the film, so you can just kind of see the brilliance of it. I think that people don't give enough recognition enough to Dr. J. As a person who, when I went to Philly, I was flabbergasted with the lack of Dr. J memorabilia. I was like, yo, if you come to California and you want to see Magic, like almost everywhere you go, you're going to be able to get a Magic jersey, a Shaq jersey, even a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar jersey, which Abdul-Jabbar jersey should be up in front and center. But I mean, just some of the highlighted of the greats. The fact that I went to so many different locations to get a doctor, could not get a Dr. J, but I also struggled in getting an Allen Iverson jersey, which I was like, yo, what is wrong with you people? Y'all need to honor your greats better. So as a whole, I just think that it's an amazing documentary. I think that you should watch it. It does an amazing job at getting you to understand, some of the institutional barriers. For example, the NBA only made you go to college, made a deal with the NCAA. You had to go to college for 4 years, essentially graduate in order to get into the NBA. The ABA um, bro did not honor that did not have that rule and allowed people to go into the ABA with no college experience. So when they tried to jump to the NBA, like they had to have a lawsuit because they're not 4 years post high school. So all of those kind of institutional rules had to go to the Supreme Court. I mean, what the NBA was doing to certain players is just ridiculous. And I think, that should be, talked about and how they're trying to diminish people's career is just stunning. But it has, interestingly enough, though, for those of you who are not basketball people, the NBA has went to that you didn't have to go to college. You can come right out of high school into the league. But they went back on that rule that no longer is a rule. Kevin Garnett, um, LeBron James, of course, the more famous guys who came out of high school and went straight to the league. You can't do that. Now people are trying to do other things like go overseas first and then come back, which I'm going to say that's not very successful. Uh, it hasn't been as successful. In theory, you can do it, but it just hasn't been as successful as you would going to college. Going to college is still the more successful pathway, but it's not just going to college, it's going to certain colleges. The anomaly in picking and being selected when you're not going to a top university or not even going to a 4 year if you're going to a 2 year. I mean, it's just still staggering, but mm, staggeringly minimally impossible, but it's not improbable. It's just impossible, not improbable. Anyway, ABA is a really good documentary, so I highly suggest Soul Power, The Rise of the ABA. Have a great rise and fall, essentially. So have a great rest of your afternoon, your evening. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold, and I will see y'all later.